Thank you, Mr. Adams. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for having me here this evening. And I want to say congratulations to all. I know Mr. Keith Adams is fully committed to this organization and the good work he is doing for all of you. Actually, Keith should be speaking about leadership because I find him to be an excellent role model of a good leader. He believes in what he's doing. He's willing to take risks. He aligns himself with people that can help move this organization forward. And I'm very pleased to have been asked to be here tonight. So Keith asked me to speak on leadership. Do you realize you can get a doctorate in leadership in today's world? Did you realize that? I didn't. College of Notre Dame can give you a master or a doctorate of education with the emphasis of leadership. I thought that was pretty interesting. And I'm finding more and more people are being curious about this concept. So like anything, you got to know what it is. What is leadership? Any ideas? What's your definition of leadership? Any ideas? Sir, give me your name because your name is the most important thing you own.
Thank you. My name is Alvin Paris, and when I think about leadership, I think of knowing how to determine people's strengths and weaknesses and bring them together to reach a common goal.
That's pretty close. That's a pretty good definition. There's a couple. I like that one, though. Leadership is a process of social influence, maximizing the efforts of others toward the achievement of a goal. It is also the action, taking action that leads a group of people or an organization. Now, have you ever heard the saying, a good leader knows how to lead, how to follow, and how to get the heck out of the way? There's a lot of truth to that. And I had to learn that. I had to learn that, through my experiences. At the age of 24, I was the first head coach, full-time coach of women's basketball at Princeton University. After 3 years there and experiencing some of the inequities, back in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, I decided the only way I can make change happen is to be in a decision-making capacity or leadership-making capacity to affect change. Because I felt all my life I have broken down barriers, obstacles. They tell you you can't do this, you're too tall, you're too small, you're this, you're that. I never could hear that. Never could hear that, because I would say, why not? Why not? And was I willing to pay a price? Absolutely. And was there a reason that, I started my girls' high school sports back in the early 70s, because I was told girls weren't interested in playing sports. And I said to myself, I have 768 in my graduating class. At least half, if not more than half, were females. And am I the only one of 300 plus that likes sports? That can't be right. So I started a basketball program. I actually coached it. We lost 3 games. My PE teacher helped me. In softball, they said the same thing. I don't think you're going to be able to get enough females. Within 48 hours, I had 30 females, and we were in dresses because we wore uniforms in parochial school. So I had 30 girls in our beautiful spring outfits, right, with gloves on our hand. And I had the priest looking up in the window. And he actually called me into his office later. He says, well, we can't afford it this year, but perhaps next year. And certainly next year, after I graduated, they did start, because they had gymnastics there. But look at this. Do you think they would have made a gymnastics suit that would fit this body? Okay? I grew 1.5 inches after I left college. I was what you call a late bloomer. So, but I played softball when I was a kid. I was a middle child of 2 boys. I played touch football. The funny thing is I became the elite athlete in my family. And it's been amazing because I say, I didn't play high school sports. I'm the first American in the International Softball Federation Hall of Fame. I went in unanimous decision, first male or female in this country. I played for the US team for 11 years. I was a captain, first base person, and I pitched. I just got into the state of Massachusetts Hall of Fame, and the person apologized to me because he said to me, God, this is embarrassing. You should have been in a lot earlier. I said, I'm just happy to be here. And I got to actually pay for 30 people, and they were my coaches that came back. And one of my coaches, who was the Olympic coach back in 1996, I threw out the first pitch in the Olympics. He is 92 years old. He was there. He was the oldest coach in the Olympics. He coached at Ray Bestis out of Stratford, Connecticut, where I had the pleasure of playing for the 11 years. We broke down a lot of barriers and we traveled the world. And this was before money was involved. Then at the age of 27, I happened to be I was selected on the Olympic committee before baseball and softball got into the Olympics because I represented the sport of fast pitch for both men and women in this country. And I think the reason I got voted in was because I was in Nicaragua with the US team, and I had a big circle with all the players, and we were dancing in the middle. Couldn't even speak to each other. We didn't have the language, but we had a lot of fun before competition. So somehow they saw something in me that said, this person can bring people together. And I think that's part of leadership, is the ability to bring people together who have common interests. Okay? Now, not everybody is a leader by nature, but can it be taught? What do you think? Can leadership be taught? Sir, your name?
My name is Brian Thomas. Being a leader, I think you can learn from other people of how they lead, and you can develop your own leadership by going through experiences, going through the pros and cons of becoming a great leader. Leaders are sometimes, there's a saying that leaders are born, but I think that it takes a process to be a leader and to be respected by your peers and from people that you want to lead.
I agree with you. I also think there are some people who can lead, but they choose not to. Because again, there's a price that you pay when you lead organizations, right? Because you're up for criticism all the time. People that are in the back rows, they can say, oh, I can do this better. What is this person doing? And you're up for criticism. And you have to be able to have some thick skin. So, that being said, talk about teams. You have captains, don't you? Do we still have captains on teams?
Yes.
Sure. How are they selected?
By the team.
Sir?
Michael Thomas.
Hi, Michael.
By the team.
Like in what way? Is it a coach selection? Is it the team selects?
It's the team selection.
See, when I coach, it's real simple. The team can select it, but I get the final approval. And I would still do it today. And I'll tell you why. Because part of leadership is that particular student athlete has to separate themselves. Doesn't mean they're better than the other group, but they do have to separate themselves because they need to in order to retain an objective perspective of everything going on. They need to understand both sides, and they can really help the coach understand what's going on with the team, and then have a conversation on how best to deal with things. This is hard to do to become a captain. Do you know why? Any idea why? Mike, do you know?
Michael Thomas, because you're going to lose that particular connection from the team when you flip over. And you have to also have to learn how to take orders.
Everybody has a boss.
Yeah.
If you're married and you're a male, you know who the boss of the family is, right? Right? I said that to my doctor the other day, and we had a real disagreement a while ago, and then I got to see him again. He says, you know, Diane, you're absolutely right. I'm having a great time with my wife now. So I told you. So, actually what happens with a lot of the kids, they want to be liked. And I don't think that's any different than all of us. Don't we want to be liked as we go on our journey, you know? But I don't know about you, I'd rather be respected. And I've always said two things. It's important to respect the person's position, because they got there somehow for a reason. So we respect the position of a father. We respect the position of a mother. We respect the position of a coach. We respect the position of a teacher. And respect basically is a behavior. And if you happen to respect the person who's in that position, what a great relationship you will have for the rest of your life. I'm going to Holland now at the end of June, and my college coach, who's 81 years old, we're still celebrating her birthday. So 4 of my college teammates and I are going to Holland. We're taking her to Holland because she took us to Holland when we were in college. We were also the first group, and there were 5 of us that decided to do something differently that's never been done. And I went to Springfield College in Springfield, Mass., home of basketball. And what we did was we chose to raise $1,250,000 to endow a scholarship in our coach's honor, Dr. Diane L. Potter Scholarship. It has never been done before on a male level or female level. And this has been a phenomenal thing that has happened. And I hope it opens up doors to other quality coaches that were there at that college, because it was a wonderful experience for me as a young person. In fact, it was my playground. And I didn't, have sports. That was my playground. And I loved it. Leadership involves a clear vision and an ability to share this vision so people follow willingly, providing the necessary information that's needed, knowledge, and the methods to realize that vision. What kind of traits do you think leaders possess? Any idea?
Work ethic.
Traits, character. What's their traits?
Work ethic.
Oh, work ethic. I don't even think you have to be a leader. I think that's what's missing in our country right now, but that's a whole different topic that maybe you'll invite me back next year, Keith. But the work ethic.
Being positive.
Being positive. That's, but I got to tell you something, you can also be negative and turn the negative around into a positive. You really can.
True.
Because there's one thing you have control over yourselves. You know what that is? There's only one thing we have control over ourselves.
You're right.
You know what it is? Attitude. So you can decide to have a tude, and you can have all the tudes you want outside that door, but when you come into here, and in this organization, this is heaven. Okay, this is a great place to be, because this is a place of opportunity, and this is a place for your future. So having an awareness is what we talked about, the separation, okay, as a captain or as a leader. The next thing, a trait that you have to have, and it's hard, it's called decision making. You've got to be willing to make the tough calls. And you've got to be willing to make the unpopular calls at the time, because some people are not visionary. They can't see ahead. And so then there's got to be some trust that you have to build. And some of the decision making, and it shouldn't be self-serving. There shouldn't be what I call hidden agendas. I can't tolerate that. Put the cards on the table, play the hand. If I can make it happen, I'm going to make it happen. But it's for the good of the group. Communication is a big key, and I think sometimes that's missing in today's world. Do you know, I let go of a track coach recently, and it was hard for me to do that, but it had to happen. And in the meeting with the track kids, they said to me, one of the cats said to me, well, when you're looking for a new coach, could you please make sure that this coach knows how to text? And I looked at her. I said, do you think that is the #1 criteria that I am going to find a track coach to make sure that he or she knows how to text? We text, we Instagram, we Twitter, we give quick snapshots of ourselves. I'm saying take time for face-to-face communication. Face-to-face, because you never know how other people feel, and you look in their eyes. The eyes are the windows of your soul. A lot of times, you can tell if people are really honest when you look in their eyes and the expressions. When you talk on the phone and when you do the email stuff, sometimes we don't email well. Some of it's very frank, very blunt, and people take offense to it. That's a nasty email. What? That's not my intention. Pick up the phone, you can still hear something, but it's still better to see people. And just about every other day, as my building is located away from the center of campus, which I kind of like, to be honest with you. But I make sure every other day I go up to the main parts of campus and I start walking around. And I go face to face with people. I say, hi, how are you today? How's your kids? Whatever it is. And then I get down to business. Now, a lot of times I don't have scheduled meetings. I'll just stop in and I can feel right away, if there's time. And it's amazing what I can get done doing something like that. Leaders have empathy, or they should have empathy. What is empathy?
Feel what other people feel.
What is your name, please?
Becky Hackett.
Becky? Feeling what other people feel. Absolutely. Leaders praise in public, yet they address concerns in private, looking for solutions and then focus on moving forward. Too often we like to blame people, right? We love to blame people. It doesn't do you any good because it's not going to make you move forward. It doesn't. Big thing for leaders is you take accountability. What's accountability?
Responsibility.
Responsibility, accountability, it's kind of like the same. You take ownership for not only your own performance, but everybody else's performance if you're a leader. There were many nights, coaching. I coached basketball, and I coached softball, and I coached the U.S. team, and I coached in Holland, because I didn't know what to do with myself after I retired from playing at the age of 32. I wanted to give back to the sport, and I continue to give back in all different ways because I love to see where the sport has progressed and the opportunities. Now it's on television. You've got the College World Series down in Oklahoma City, where, by the way, that's where the Hall of Fame is. And you see some pretty good ball. Although I'm scared of them now with all these helmets and the gear they have on. And I tell you, if I played today, I probably would kill somebody, because when I hit the ball very hard, and it's because of technology with the balls and then with the bats. And they haven't moved the field back like a baseball field. It's still the dimensions of the softball field, which makes it very dangerous. Maybe that's something I could still, pick up later on, is change some of the rules.
60 feet.
When I pitched, it was 40 feet. So a 70-mile-an-hour fastball is comparable to 100. In 1981, I was at the Nationals, and this was out in Houston. And does anybody remember Harry Reasoner?
Yeah.
Okay, he was with 60 Minutes, and that was during the baseball strike. Well, Harry Reasoner came out to film us at Ray Bestis, because we are one of the most dominating sports of all time in any sport and in any gender, if you look up that franchise. He said to his crew, you know what, it's girls. We'll just film 1 or 2 days, and then we'll go home, right? Well, the tournament is usually 7 days. He was there the whole day. He couldn't believe it. Reggie Jackson was there. Kathy Aronson, who was probably the best pitcher in the world at that time. And we had like 4 people who were 6 feet tall. We had the biggest team in the world. Kathy struck out Reggie Jackson 3 times. But I say to you, who didn't strike out Reggie Jackson? Right? Except in the month of October. And then before then, Joni Joyce, who played for Ray Bestis and is still coaching, and she's in her 70s, she struck out Ted Williams. And you know how they did it? Now remember, at 40 feet, you throw about 70 miles an hour. That's the equivalent to a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. When you throw rise balls, baseball, hitters can't hit that. They just can't. They have a very difficult time. Now it's 43 feet, and they still can't hit it. Except they make more money than us, and they never understood that. And we didn't make errors. But anyway, leaders. Leaders who exuberate and they have confidence. When you have confidence in your beliefs, in how you carry yourself, how you walk into a room, how you greet people, it's contagious. People will seek your advice. It's amazing. They know your ideas, opinions, and strategies. And if they don't, and if you don't really know it, what's great about being a leader, you can seek the knowledge from other people. And that's something I learned from my father very young, as a young child. When he didn't have the knowledge, he couldn't catch me anymore when I was 11 years old. He sent me to somebody to learn how to pitch. And when I was 14, I was playing against people who were in their 20s. You know, I was not the average 14-year-old size. I probably was built like a 17-year-old at the age of 14. Leaders also who possess optimism, they possess great positive energy that can be infectious. And that's who you want to hang out with. You don't want to hang out with negative things, negative people. They just only bring you down. Hang out with the sun. It's warm, it's fuzzy. You know, you take a glass half full or half empty. It's your choice how you see it. I say I'd rather pour some more water in it and drink a full glass. Focus, and here's one of the biggest things that I think young people or any people fail to do, is they fail to focus today. Now, you plan ahead and you stay the course despite adversity, obstacles. And to me, obstacles have been nothing but challenges. I don't look at it as obstacles. You've got to learn how to navigate. I'm very impatient as an athletic director. I want it done yesterday. I've got to find people who can help me. I have to convince them why this is important, and we'll get it done. You have to have honesty and integrity. And that means character that implies a refusal to steal, to lie, and you want to do the right thing. Not some of the time, not part of the time, but all the time, because it becomes a habit, and it becomes a way of life. Leadership leads without the use of titles. It really does. I never want to use my title as an athletic director, as a Hall of Famer. I never want to do that. But if I have to use it, I use it as a last resort. But I don't want to. Don't do things because, and I hear this all the time with young people, don't do things because you're building a resume to look good. Do we hear that all the time in our society now? Right? I'm saying to you, do things because you are building your life to be the best you that you can be. Be the best you that you can be. It's hard to grow up today because there's lots of factors, and technology has been one of the biggest keys. We've bred now the cell phone. Where's your cell phone? I didn't even have to ask you to put the cell phones away tonight. I'm like shocked. You've already done that, Rob, right? So cell phones, people are glued to their cell phones. And then we have the challenges of social media today, and we have the bullying that's happening. Bullying has always been here, but now it's really taken on a whole new genre because of the social media. And it's taken a life on its own, and it is just wrong, and it's just something that tells you about the bully. It really tells you something more about the bully than the person who's being bullied. It's just wrong, and it needs to stop. And leaders within your own school can find ways to make that stop. Instant information. The media creates sensation. The media does. It creates all this stuff. When you watch ESPN, and by the way, do you know who founded, one of the founders of ESPN? Do you know who he was? I'll give you a clue. He was my softball umpire back at Springfield College. Bill Rasmussen. He was actually a broadcaster in WWLP or WHYN back then. And he said to me between the doubleheaders, he said, they call me Shuey, okay? And he said, Shuey, what do you think of a 24-hour sport network? I shook his hand and I said, Bill, you've got yourself a gold mine. We are crazy about sports in this country, and look what's happened. I've always said to students and student athletes when I engage with you as a teacher and as a coach and as an administrator, I am not about instant gratification. I used to say that all the time to my kids. I say it now to the kids at Howard Community College. We're not here for instant gratification. We are here with you for long-term satisfaction. Long-time satisfaction. There is so much pressure out there with athletic scholarships today, having to choose to concentrate on one sport as opposed to playing all three, make a decision to play in club programs or go to your high school programs. Do you realize there are more academic scholarships out there than there are athletic ones? Too often our lives are not balanced between play on the courts or field, of which play feels good for our body. Play is fun, but too little time challenging our brain, which is our mind, and learning to recharge with quiet time to soothe our spirit by reading or listening to music. Do we really take the time to do that? Do our kids are so programmed and they are so scheduled a lot of times. Has anybody ever done nothing for a half an hour and chilled out? Parents need to try that too, because parents are running around like chickens with their head cut off. If they've got more than 1 or 2 or 3 kids, they're running them all over the place, right? And you have no time for yourself, you have no time to recharge. Take charge of your life. Take your life back and make some decisions. And don't worry about, well, if my daughter or my son doesn't get this, they're going to lose out on this opportunity. I'm going to tell you right now, no. I even took a year off from playing. I decided I got burned out. And then for the last 15, 20 years, I played every summer, 70 games. It's not like that today. There's even more games that kids are playing. You know, it's crazy. The ability to make good choices, good decisions throughout a life provides you with potentially a good life rich in values, surrounded by people who truly love and respect you. Respect, by the way, as I said before, is a behavior. And this is just my philosophy. You may or may not agree with it. I don't think respect is automatic. I think it's earned. Unless you're a baby who's very helpless, or you're an elder who have lived out their lives and are struggling, I give you my utmost respect. But the rest of us, I think it's earned. Like I said to you before, I respect the position of a coach, but you've got to earn that respect, or earn that respect as an athletic director. Leaders can be identified when you observe behaviors and how one engages. I can put you in a room right now and do some things, and I can pick out potential leaders. There is just certain things that some leaders, how they carry themselves, how they engage with people, how they take the lead, you know, you can tell that. Lastly, I feel a leader does things for the greater good that might not benefit directly from what they have accomplished, only that they have made a difference in people's lives. I challenge you, each and every one of you in this room, to create your own path. Break down barriers in a way that allows others to travel behind you and eventually alongside of you, because it is lonely in the beginning, trust me, it is. But eventually as you look around, you're going to see other people coming from behind. Then you're going to see people right side by side as you do these things. When it feels lonely at the top, just know that the climb was worth it. And I thank you very much.